Now here's something exciting. We've got over 56,000 new jobs coming to Minnesota this year, and with it, more families than ever are looking to relocate here. So in the next 20 minutes, I'm going to show you exactly what life is really like living in the Twin Cities suburbs and why choosing the right one could potentially be the best decision of your life or a very costly mistake. So no sugarcoating it, just real insights for somebody who's helped dozens of families find their perfect Minnesota home. But first, if you're new here, hit that subscribe button for us because every week we're touring different Twin Cities suburbs and sharing real estate insights that you simply won't find anywhere else. First up, let's talk about downtown Minneapolis. Now, it's been transforming faster than ever recently, and we've got 3 new startup incubators happening. The biggest one is going to be over in the North Loop. It's the North Loop Innovation Hub, opening in March 2025. The tech scene here is absolutely exploding because we've seen big names like Target, US Bank, and Amazon, plus dozens of other smaller startups as well, creating an incredible ecosystem. But here's the catch, and this is super important. Downtown living does vary dramatically by which block that you choose, so let me give you the insider scoop on a few of the favorites. First, you've got the North Loop, and this is where you want to be if you're in the tech or creative industries. Washington Ave between 3rd and 7th in particular is absolutely prime real estate right now. You've got incredible restaurants like Spoon and Stable, Bachelor Farmer, and the new food hall that's also opening up in 2025. Plus, you're also right next to Target Field, which is where the Twins play. You've got the Target Center where the Timberwolves basketball and concert events happened, and the Mississippi River Trail System as well. Second, you've got the Central Business District. That's between Hennepin Avenue and Portland. This is really in the heart of Minneapolis. This is the perfect place if you work in finance or you're just looking for easy access to the neighboring buildings. As Central Minneapolis does have several miles of skyway, it's the largest in the world, and that'll link you to all the different main buildings for your restaurants, your shopping, your grocery, things like that. But here's a pro tip: look for buildings between 8th and 11th streets. Now, they're still going to be connected by the skyways, but you are going to pay about 15% less than the other neighboring buildings right on Nicollet Mall, which is the heart of the city. Next up, let's talk about Northeast Minneapolis, and this is a neighborhood that is kind of like the Brooklyn of the Twin Cities, and it's really got it going on right now. In case you didn't know, Minnesota's got something like 15 microbreweries, and Northeast Minneapolis is a great spot if that's the scene that you're looking for. We've got favorites like Indeed Brewing and Bauhaus Brew Labs, and the new Cloud Brewing is also coming soon in spring 2025. If art's your thing, Northeast has got it going on for that as well with the Arts District along 13th Avenue. And a few insider tips: Northeast is great for those that are looking for an urban lifestyle, but maybe you don't want to live in a condo like you have in downtown. So just this weekend, I took some clients out here, shout out to Don and Steve, and they absolutely fell in love with the charm and character of Northeast. It's got fantastic architecture, you've got mature tree-lined streets, you've got boulevards and sidewalks and tons of character. However, there is one major drawback with Northeast, and that is if you're looking for large open layouts, you're simply not going to find it in Northeast. These are older homes, early 1900s built, and so while they will have tons of architectural character and charm, it's going to be smaller rooms that are a little bit more chopped up, not the big open spaces a lot of people are looking for. So if that's your jam, you're going to need to look out in the suburbs, and I've got some of those cities coming up soon. I also can't forget the number one insider tip I've got to give you for Northeast, and that's going to be the egg rolls are fantastic. My favorite little Vietnamese place is located in Northeast, and so it's called Village House. Make sure to check them out. Their food's good, but it's all about the egg roll. And I think that tip alone has earned me a quick hit on that like button, so do me a solid and also drop me a comment telling me which neighborhood or city you're most interested in. If you have any questions about those, I'd be happy to answer them, even the snarky ones. Next, let's talk about Uptown, because this is going to get really interesting and might spark some locals in the comment section. They are currently wrapping up about a $45 million renovation project through the Uptown neighborhood of Minneapolis, and this sounds like a great thing, and it is in theory. However, as part of that whole construction project, it's kind of put a lot of businesses out. It's been really hard for customers to get down Hennepin Avenue where most of this has been happening, and so while we're really excited to see all the dedicated bike lanes, wider sidewalks, and access to things like that, green spaces, the problem has been a lot of things have gone out of business in this area, and it's really hurt home values. So why are we talking to this in the context of moving to Minneapolis? Well, the reason is because I think this could be a huge opportunity for a person that wants to live in the Uptown area, that once this area comes back to life as these projects finish up, I think it's be a great spot to earn some equity. You're kind of buying in while things are low, and then potentially once everyone sees how great all these renovation projects are, they see the new food hall, the co-working spaces, you've got luxury apartments, I think that could quickly bring the values up in this area and could create a fantastic place to live. Next up, let's talk South Minneapolis, and here's your cheat sheet for South Minneapolis. I love most of the areas around there, but particularly look between 46th and 54th streets and between Lake Nokomis and Lake Harriet. Now, I'm not saying the other areas around that are not good places to live, but I especially like these areas because they're reasonably affordable, but they've got fantastic real estate, and there's one defining feature that all the locals know already, and that's going to be Minnehaha Parkway. Now, if you don't know Minnehaha Parkway, this is following Minnehaha Creek, which feeds all the way off of Lake Minnetonka over. It's then fed off of Lake Harriet and then out to Lake Nokomis. Eventually, you've got Minnehaha Falls, which is a cool waterfall to take the family to, and then into the Mississippi River. So what's so great about this area area. Well, this is a fantastic place if you're looking to get outside just like me, you want nature, but for those that want to be in the city of Minneapolis, this is a fantastic location. This is a very high demand area because people love to take their dogs, they go for a walk down the boulevard. You've got huge, really mature line trees, you've got fantastic architecture, and the schools are great here as well. If suburbs are more of what you're looking for, let's take a deep dive into what's really happening in the Twin Cities suburbs for 2025. And we'll start with Woodbury. This has become one of the hottest markets for 2025. Beyond the medical corridor, here's what makes Woodbury special. You first got the Bielenberg Sports Center. Hopefully I said that right. This isn't just any community center. We're talking like 160,000 square feet of community center. It's got, I think, about 120,000 square foot of an outdoor dome space. So you've got winter sports, you've got some of the, outdoor fields, indoor things for the winter. You've also got Central Park, and this is a fascinating indoor park. So when it's negative 20 outside, like it literally was yesterday, you can take your kids inside, you can enjoy their playground, the amphitheater, and it's all climate controlled. And new this year, they've also got an indoor splash pad that's coming for 2025. For my relocating families, you're going to want to know where all the best neighborhoods are for Woodbury, and so here's my top 4. First, you've got Powers Lake area. This is a good spot if you're looking for new construction, larger lots, and you're wanting to be close to that medical corridor. Second would be Dancing Waters. This is a very family-friendly community because they've got an HOA pool, they've got pickleball, playground, and basketball courts, I believe, and it's a pretty small little knit community. Third, you've got Stone Mill Farms, and this is going to be very similar to Dancing Waters, but it's just a little more of everything. This is more of a resort-style amenities. It's also got a lot of real cool community events, so if you're looking for stuff like that, you're wanting to build your community. They've got a 5K, I know. They've got Christmas activities. They've got different seasonal things. They've got a casino night. It's just a really small town feel within that community. And fourth is Bailey Lake. This is a more established area with mature trees and larger lots. For people looking for a quieter pace of life, I like the suburb Lakeville, Minnesota. This is straight south between Minneapolis and St. Paul. People often call me about areas like Eden Prairie or Lake Minnetonka, but then pretty quick decide they don't love the price point. So if that's what you're thinking, Lakeville could be a great alternative that'll provide you a similar lifestyle, but a fraction of the cost. Plus, with Buck Hill right next door, your kids can hit the slopes within 20 minutes of school, and there's a ton of other outdoor activities as well. Antlers Park at Lake Marion is something really, really special, and it's the perfect place to get outside on the water, whether you're paddleboarding or you want to jet ski or take the boat, or it's just a great place to relax with the kids on the beach. You've, of course, got the playground, but you've also got a BMX area and a bunch of other things for the kids to do there. Of course, there's a number of city parks located all around for all the sports fans, and their downtown scene is fantastic. Now, think very small, historic downtown, but you've got places like Lakeville Brewing, which is a fantastic place to get a beer. You got B52, which has really insanely good and interesting burger combinations. And then, of course, you've got to get coffee from Tapestry. My favorite drink there is the bourbon caramel iced coffee, which is perfection. Let's talk about a few of my favorite neighborhoods for Lakeville. First, Spirit of Bradenton Farms. This is a super well-known and well-loved community. It was built around an old farmhouse building, and that's since become the community center, which has its own pool. And a lot of these homes were built by Robert Thomas, which is a builder that I really like around the Twin Cities. They're known for being reasonably affordable, but really providing a cool architectural, interesting features, design layouts. Is not cookie cutter at all. So Robert Thomas is one of my favorites. I've also got a breakdown of all the builders. If you want to go see that over on the channel, we'll link it in the description for you later. The new Marion Fields development is another one that I really like. These are slightly more luxury homes with lake views, but they're starting in the mid 600s. And then last is the Brookshire neighborhood. This is a production build by D.R. Horton. But what I like about this one as well, again, just like some of the other neighborhoods in Woodbury, this is an HOA community that's that resort style living. You've got a big clubhouse, you've got a yoga studio, you've got a workout facility, you've got pickleball courts, you've got playgrounds, and you've got pools. Now, why do I keep talking about communities with HOAs? Because most people really don't want an HOA. They're fantastic for people relocating, but it's a great way for you to build community very quickly. You get to know your neighbors, you're all playing at the pool together, and it's a great way for you to feel at home in your community very quickly. Next, why don't we break down what exactly is driving the suburban growth that we're seeing around the Twin Cities? We're seeing huge numbers of families moving here from the coasts especially, and primarily it's going to be because our suburbs are considerably more affordable, but still having very highly rated school districts. So maybe if you're coming from Boston or Seattle, median price point of around $1.2 million, you can get something similar here in, say, Eden Prairie or Plymouth for the $600,000 to $900,000 range. And speaking of schools, this is crucial for all of you parents out there like us. Our suburban school districts are consistently ranked among the best in the country. A few of those top districts being Edina, Wayzata, Plymouth, and Eden Prairie. But here's my next insider tip is don't sleep on some of the emerging school districts either. Places like Woodbury or Lakeville have comparable education, but at a considerably lower cost of living. You've also got huge school districts like the Anoka Hennepin, which is technically only rated, I think, about a B- on niche.com right now, but they're still one of the highest rated in the entire nation. Second thing that's driving Twin Cities growth is the jobs. That's going to be places like the Mayo Clinic, which is bringing in something like 3,000 new healthcare positions on the south side. You've also got Target's tech division hiring like crazy. I believe they've added about 1,500 tech jobs last year, and they're planning for another 2,000 in 2025. But here's what's really exciting. We're seeing this huge influx of remote workers as well. So companies are realizing that you can get amazing talent from here for 20 to 30% less than you can at other places around the country. Plus, Minnesota's new remote worker tax credit program means that in 2025, you can get up to $5,000 in tax credits if you move here for remote work. Let's talk real estate by the numbers now, because this is probably why you're watching this channel. Our suburban median home prices vary pretty significantly, but generally the north side will be a little bit less expensive. Currently, the median's around $375,000. The south suburbs a little more expensive, typically around $450,000, and then the premium suburbs, primarily to the west side of our metro, are going to be between $600,000 and $900,000. Here's the opportunity I'm seeing right now. There's emerging cities like Rogers, Otsego, and Chaska, which are offering an incredible value, some brand new developments, some that are existing, and still very well-rated schools and tons of great amenities. Quick pause, why don't you grab a pen, because there's 3 numbers that I want to save you money on if you're thinking about buying around the Twin Cities. First of all, our average utility costs are going to vary by suburb, but you should expect around $255 per month for a single family home. Our property taxes are going to range from about 1.1 to 1.3 depending on the suburb, and our commute costs are going to surprise you a little bit. However, we do have a ton of public transit options like suburban park and rides, where you can park in a lot together, and that system will save you about $200 a month, and frankly, it'll get you into work a lot more easily. Now let's talk about what makes living in Minnesota so special, and the main thing that people love living here for is going to be our 4 distinct seasons. Now, hear me out on this one. We've got something great going on year-round in Minnesota. December, for example, is usually between about December and February or March. You can go to places like Buck Hill or Highland Hills for skiing. You've also got a number of sledding hills at the little tiny no-name parks right in your neighborhood, or you've got tubing places like Elm Creek Park, which my kids absolutely love. That'll include things like cross-country skiing or snowshoeing in places like Lebanon Hills Regional Park, and any of the number of trail systems you can pretty much still get outside in the winter. You've got indoor sports at suburban community centers. You've got winter festivals all across the metro. You've got places like Woodbury, which hold their winter wonderland. You've got heated outdoor dining seasons, so you can still enjoy your favorite restaurants in the winter. You can already imagine all the great things there are to do in the spring and summer. With this being the land of 10,000 lakes, it's generally all about getting up north or staying in your suburb area and going to one of the lakes around you. So with all the lakes, you're going to have trails at most of them. You're going to have public access to either the beach or to boating. You can go out and just do paddleboarding or something like that, canoeing or kayaking. Or if you want to do something a little more motorized, you've got tubing. We'll pull the kids on the tubes with jet skis. You can go fishing, all kinds of activities out on the lake that everybody loves. And our falls are definitely not to sleep on either. This is usually when you're going to see a number of food truck festivals happening around the Twin Cities. There's apple picking, there's corn mazes, there's pumpkin patches, there's all kinds of good things happening in the fall as well. And speaking of all the great things to do around the Twin Cities, I actually put out an email newsletter that's specifically all about that. It's called The Hot Dish. You're welcome for the ridiculously cheesy name, but if you'd like to subscribe to that, you can find a link to that in the description down below. We'll just shoot you an email once a week with all the cool stuff to do. Even if you're relocating here, it at least gives you an idea of what it's like living in Minnesota. While everyone thinks you need to commute to downtown, here's what's really happening in 2025. For our suburbs, primarily you can still live out in the suburbs, but if you do need to commute downtown, we've got a ton of public transit options as well, from the commuter rail line to the light rails to the bus service. For example, with Woodbury, they've got a brand new gold line that's coming in. This is a rapid transit bus that goes from a park and ride in Woodbury straight into downtown St. Paul. So it's usually a whole lot faster. They're like coach style buses. You've got free Wi-Fi. So it's a really comfortable way to get in and out if you're concerned about driving in the snow. Now, why don't we break down the cost of living in the Twin Cities a little bit more for you? Yes, generally living in the Twin Cities metro is going to be about 5 to 15% more on average than the national average, but here's what those numbers mean, because they can be a little bit misleading. Generally, housing costs in our top suburbs, north suburbs, are going to be about $375, again with those property taxes around 1.1 to 1.3%. Our southern suburbs around $450. You've got excellent, really highly rated schools there, and of course, we've got larger premium type of areas in the west suburbs for $600,000 to $900,000. Here's what your monthly budget might look like on a typical suburb around the Twin Cities. First of all, you got your mortgage payment. On a $600,000 home, if you're putting 20% down, that's going to be about $2,800 for your mortgage payment. Property taxes are going to cost you between about $500 and $700 depending on the suburb, and then those average utilities again are about $255 for a single family home. Internet and cable options generally about $85 to $120, and we are getting fiber optic in most of the Twin Cities, although it's not in every place, so make sure to check before you move there. Cost of family activities, most of which are free, frankly, because we've got a ton of great free options with our parks and trails and lake systems, and then food and groceries are about 7% higher than the national average. Healthcare, on the other hand, is a little bit cheaper in Minnesota, being about 10% below similar cities around the US. Two final things to wrap up this video. First, you want to make sure you understand the tax situation in Minnesota. Last I checked, Minnesota is about the 9th highest tax burden state overall. Now, the vast majority of people, honestly, I don't think are going to really notice the difference when they move here, because the cost of living and the housing and everything else is a lot more affordable than some places. However, if you're coming from a state that has a no income tax, that's definitely something to be aware of. Finally, for those that stuck around, I wanted to give you 4 cities that I think are a little bit underrated, which I'm keeping my eye on for 2025. And I've got neighborhood tours of each of these on my channel, so make sure and go check those out later. The first one's going to be Forest Lake. This one is up towards the north side. This is right in between Minneapolis and St. Paul. If you're looking to get out on a lake, this is a fantastic area that I think is totally underrated. Second's going to be Chaska. Now, Chaska is pretty well known and loved, but they are doing a ton of expansion out there. So if you're like a little historic downtown, kind of like Anoka or Lakeville, Chaska's got that going on as well with a little local bakery and different things. You can get high-end construction there. You can get affordable new construction there, or you can also get historic homes as well. Number 3 is Plymouth. Now, Plymouth is not new by any means, and I've talked about it quite a bit on this channel. It's one of the highest rated suburbs of the Twin Cities. But what I do love about Plymouth is I still think it's a little bit underrated by some people, and it's a great spot if you're looking to get into Wayzata schools, but you can't afford to live in the city of Wayzata. Plymouth is still a little underrated in my book. And then finally is Otsego. This is an area up on the northwest side of the Twin Cities that's absolutely booming. I've got neighborhood tours and all kinds of information on that one as well. So that's a wrap for this video. Thanks for hanging out until the end. My name's Joe Carmack. I'd love to help with your next move, so you can find all my contact information in the description down below. And I've also got this video right here, which is the fastest growing zip codes around the Twin Cities you may want to check out next, or an entire playlist for you. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.